Your lawn just became a swimming pool, and everything you're about to do next could make it worse. Seriously, that one mistake most homeowners make after a heavy rain, it silently destroys your soil for the entire season. But here's the good news. There's a dead simple fix, and it starts with doing almost nothing. Stick around because what I'm about to show you will save your lawn, garden beds, and your wallet. I'm here helping homeowners, serious gardeners, and businesses fix lawn, plant, and landscaping problems using professional horticulture and contractor tested methods without wasting money on gimmicks. Hit like, subscribe, and let's fix this thing together. What happens when you get so much rain that your soil is saturated? I mean, just so wet, it just can't handle it any longer. And you basically have an Olympic-sized swimming pool for a lawn, and you don't have a lawn anymore because it's just underwater. What do you do with a situation like that? Well, there's a way to approach this, and it is nothing. You really can't do nothing. Once you have such soil saturation, you need to actually go out and take pictures. Really important for that because you're going to be able to see where the low spots are and then where the high spots are. And then we're going to attack that after everything dries up. But the thing that you really don't want to do is any kind of foot traffic or walking with and on that wet soil, because that saturation is going to destroy, or I should say the compaction within that saturation is going to destroy all the pore spaces. And I don't mean P-O-O-R pore spaces. I'm talking about P-O-R-E pore spaces. And these are the channels that allow the water to drain and the roots to breathe. So stay off the garden beds, stay off the lawn, stay off of everything until it has a natural way of draining itself. That's what you have to do. The last thing you're going to want to do is to get out there on your lawnmower, and I don't care how long that lawn is going to be growing, you got to stay off of it. Because even if you have a riding lawnmower that has big fat tires on it, you're going to be squish-ticating it. And you know what? It's better to mow a lawn that's a little bit longer than ruining that soil structure. That's what we have to remember. Now, can you do anything really about it? Yeah, I said you could leave it alone. But if you really have it, you got to get out there. You want to add coarse organic matter to the surface. You could do a top dressing with compost, straw, wood chips, things like that can help absorb that surface moisture. And over time, maybe even improve your soil's damage capacity. You just want to avoid turning it in until the soil gets dry. It's just that simple. Now, if you need to, and you have to move that water away from your house, then along the edges of your garden beds and other areas, you can get out there and dig like a trench away and lower so it comes away from your house. Now, if you've got raised beds, you're actually in luck because when you have a raised bed, it's like having a planter bed. And this is going to drain out faster than you could ever imagine. So you want to consider transitioning those problem areas into raised beds when the weather allows you to. You see, you just can't get out there and start doing stuff that's just absolutely crazy. Don't want you to do that, okay? So this is a thing that we have to recognize today for long-term fixes later on for those wet spots. Now, you can improve your long-term drainage by incorporating coarse sand or grit or some kind of organic matter into clay-heavy soils once they dry, but only when the work is on the soil is workable. And then, of course, sun is hands down your best bet, your best ally, because on dry, breezy days, it's going to take and it's going to dry that soil out, and you'll know what to do. But we have to consider this as well. How do you know when it's safe to work in there? Fine, great, Nick, everything is all wet, but how do we know when to do this? Well, it's simple. you need to do the squeeze test. And you know me, I'm all about that wet sponge test, right? That's how you can tell whether or not your soil is ready to work with or not. If you were to imagine a sponge, I don't care whether it's a real sponge from the ocean or whether it's a sponge, one of those triangular, rectangular ones, wet it. Once it's wet, you squeeze it out. When you have a squeezed out sponge, you're going to notice that there's little holes, and those holes are the air spaces that are represented in the soil that we talked about earlier. So if you can grab it and you don't get any dripping coming out of there, and you open your hand out and the soil kind of breaks up just a little bit, or kind of gets crackly, if you may, then you're probably okay. But if it's a sticky, muddy ball, you gotta wait. It's still too saturated. You don't want that. And here's something we rarely talk about, and that would be soil temperature. Saturated soils are also cold soils. So even after they drain, most vegetable crops, they're not gonna really grow in soil temperatures. You gotta get your soil up to around 50 to 60 degrees. And that's at the seed depth. So if it's a 1-inch seed, scratch the soil surface, and then if it's between that, then you probably will be okay. Okay, so but if it's colder than that, you got something else that you can't do that. And then finally, just wait for the overall structural recovery of the soil. Allow everything to dry out, then you can get in there and wait a couple extra days. I know you get cabin fever, kind of take it easy. Then make sure that you can come in, you could dig, you could rototill, and then get your soil back on track. That's the way to do something like this. Don't get so anxious that you got to do it. Watch for those surface cues. When you start to see it changing from a dark color to a light color. And then if you don't want to put any seeds in, try transplants. Those will work out better for you. Get them in the soil and they will grow.